This is your life, this London Soho, and in a street just behind me, heading in the same direction, a remarkable character. He rose from East End street fighter to America's Hall of Fame. He became an idol not only in Britain but in the USA. He rubbed shoulders with Hollywood actors and Chicago gangsters. And he and I are heading, would you believe it, to an art exhibition. He because his daughter Stephanie is the artist, me because he's going there. It's taking place here in Kettner's restaurant, and some of the art patrons are already there. Not your usual dilettante connoisseurs. I'm sure that aficionados of the noble art will recognize some faces that have had attention from a different kind of canvas work. Stephanie, you all set?
Yes, okay, ready.
Well, I can't see him, but I know he's not far behind, so I'll study one of your works of art. I'll be back to him.
Hi, darling, come in. How are you?
Hello, Jack.
Hello,
Jack.
Hey, Jack. How you going?
Jack, let me put you in the picture because it's not just an art exhibition, and thanks to your old colleagues from the Xboxers Association and Stephanie, my co-conspirator, we can say to the former champion of the world tonight, Jack Kid Berg, this is your life. That's why I have all these handsome faces around here. To escort you to the theater where we...
Only good looking.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Red Book corner, former world junior welterweight and British lightweight champion, Jack Kid Berg. "56 years ago, Kid Berg became the toast of Britain, winning the World Junior Welterweight Championship at the Royal Albert Hall, stopping American Mushy Callahan in 10 rounds. The Whitechapel Windmill successfully defended the world title 9 times before losing it to the late legendary Tony Canzoneri. The only living British boxer in the American Hall of Fame, captured here in Movietone News, October 1930.
Hail the conquering hero. Jack Kid Berg is boxed in by fans as he returns to London after successfully defending his world title against American Billy Patrol in the United States. The Whitechapel Windmill sailed to a points win and then made these winning points at the microphone.
Well, I'm ever so pleased to get back to old London, and I want to thank you all the people for the kind reception you've given me here today, and I'll do my utmost in the future. I thank you.
Well, that was 56 years ago, and tonight here in your old London town, Jack Kid Berg, this is your life. And I begin, for a reason that will be obvious, on one afternoon, early in the Second World War, you were on a spot of leave from the RAF, and you went for a swim at the outdoor pool at Roehampton. And so, too, did a young Irish girl all the way from County Kerry.
And before I knew what hit me, I was head over heels.
That same girl you met at the swimming pool 46 years ago, of course, your wife, Moya. Moya, I know it's a nervous time tonight, but tell us about that first meeting at the swimming pool.
Well, I suddenly felt something being hoisted under my posterior, and that was that.
I hasten to add, it wasn't Jack, it was a deck chair, yes?
Yes.
Well, that's how it all started, isn't it? And in fact, you were married at Malvern Town Hall on February the 20th, 1943. Moya, I believe that Jack made you fighting mad the first morning of the honeymoon.
He certainly did. He said to me, I don't remember asking you to marry me.
True, Jack. Well, Jack, this is your life and it's all coming out. You were born Judah Bergman in Whitechapel in London's East End on June 28th, 1909. You were the second son and fourth of 7 children of Russian Jewish immigrants Jacob and Millicent Bergman. There they are in an early family photograph with, from left to right, your brothers and sisters, Rachel, Willie, Sadie, Becky and Teddy. That's you on the right of the picture, Jack, looking quite angelic. Now, that picture was taken just before the First World War, and although Willie and Teddy are no longer with us, and Rachel not well enough to be here, but tonight, some 72 years on, from their East London homes, your sisters Sadie, Becky and Mari. Jack, you've got a huge family. And here are just some of them. Your nephew Jonathan and his wife Madeline with daughter Jemima. Your nephew Tony and his wife Penny and their children James and Laura. And in the audience, some 30 members of your family who all wanted ringside seats tonight. You spent your early years, Jack, here in Rumford Street, Stepney, 9 of you living in a 2-bedroom flat in the tough, depressed East End, where, like for thousands of others, it was a battle for survival. And, Mari, they were tough times, of course, for all the family, weren't they?
We used to call them the good old days, but really, they weren't the good old days. My father was a tailor. His salary was £2 a week, and he had to feed 7 mouths. But Jack always eased the pressures, always. He always came up and made things fine. He made his 4 sisters beautiful weddings, and he bought my father and mother a beautiful home, and he even took them to America. And they're really very, very proud of him.
Well, Jack, your father at first insisted that you start work as a cabinet maker, but you preferred nailing opponents. And you quit the job after just a short spell to concentrate full-time on boxing. In a remarkable ring career stretching over 21 years, you had a total of 192 professional contests, of which you lost only 26. It's a formidable record, as another great British ring hero confirms, speaking to you from Spain, where I hope he is not, of course, using his famous hook on the golf course, heavyweight legend Henry Cooper.
Watch it, Jack. Now, you're one of the greats of the ring. And all that you achieved has been an inspiration to a procession of boxers. Now, I grew up listening to stories about your exploits, particularly in America, where you showed them that the British boxer can rate with the best in the world. You are now the daddy of the British boxing. And though I can't be there with you in person tonight, I know Eamonn has got some great guys to help punch home the message that you are still king of the ring.
Yes, great guys indeed. A star-spangled parade of former world boxing champions. Flyweight champion of the world, Terry Allen. Flyweight champion of the world, Walter McGowan. Flyweight champion of the world, Charlie Magri. Bantamweight champion of the world, Johnny Caldwell. Featherweight champion of the world, Howard Winston. Lightweight champion of the world, Ken Buchanan. Welterweight champion of the world, John H. Stracey. Light middleweight champion of the world, Morris Hope. World middleweight champion, Terry Downs. Middleweight champion of the world, Alan Minter. And today's light heavyweight champion of the world, Dennis Andrews. Ted, it's hard to believe that you began your professional boxing career when you were just 14 years old at the famous Old East End boxing arena, Premierland. And you were determined to follow in the path of another great East End boxing idol, the late Ted Kid Lewis. You started not at 14, but at the age of 11, never inside the ring, but outside in the street, in contests organised by not the Dead End, but the East End kids, the Whitechapel boys gang you used to hang around with. Now, the contests were staged to draw the interest of passers-by in the hope of raising a few coppers. And maybe this was what it was like, Jack, as we take a trip down memory lane. Now, this is how you first started fighting, Jack. You used to take on and beat all comers. And I'm sure it brings back memories of Myrtle Street School and your old Whitechapel boys gang. And from those far-off days, bridging the First World War, just look who are watching and remembering. Nat Fishman, David Alderman, brothers Sam and Joe Greenberg, and Lou Sugarman. And, of course, they're all here tonight. Come on, boys. But, Jack, there are two members of this happy gang are missing. You haven't had time to count them yet. In the 1950s, both of them set off for a new life in California, one to Panorama City, the other to Burbank. And here tonight, your old boyhood pals to complete the gang, Young Benji and Gussie Huss. Now, Dave, let me ask you, or Young Benji as I called you, do you have clear memories of those street fights?
Distinctly, very much. When he first came back from America, when he had his greatest fights there, all the kids in the neighborhood wanted to emulate Jack Kid Berg. We all wanted to be Jack Kid Berg. We used to fight in the streets for nubbins. You were terrific.
And Gussie, you used to go to Jack's fights at Premierland.
Right. You remember your first fight when you came out and we went down the street and we were all shouting, you won the fight, and you had a black eye. And your father said, what, you've been fighting again? And you put his hand in your pocket and you gave him, he said, look, I've got my money for fighting. And your father said, go back and fight again.
Thank you for your Whitechapel old boys. Thank you, boys. Well, after 5 years as a professional, Jack, and still only 19, you set sail for the United States in 1928 because you wanted to try to establish yourself as a world title challenger. You went first to Chicago of the Roaring Twenties during what were the uneasy speakeasy days of Prohibition, when gang bosses like Al Capone and another feared gangster, Legs Diamond, were in gun-happy control. Now, here's a newsreel flashback that should stir some memories for you.
Friends, Jack Legs Diamond, whom somebody trumped with 5 bullets a few months ago, emerges from enforced retirement at Welfare Island Hospital to return to his home in Accra, New York. So he climbs aboard a train to take himself for a ride to what he hopes is safety.
Well, now, safety didn't last long because soon after those pictures were taken, he was shot, and you weren't far away at the time.
Darling Hotel.
You were staying in the same hotel?
Yeah.
Well, gangsters apart, Jack, you mixed in more respectable celebrity circles and counted many Hollywood stars of the 30s among your friends. And among them was an up-and-coming young film director, screenwriter, and actor, a boxing fanatic who's kept in touch with you since, seeing you score one of your most memorable victories in New York City 54 years ago.
To try to put all the outlandish things that have happened to Jack Kid Berg into one film would be sheer folly. He's led an incredible life.
Speaking to you from his home in Los Angeles, that giant of the film world, director of such film classics as Moby Dick, Fat City, and The African Queen, John Huston.
It's good to see you again, Jackie, after all this time, all in one piece. I recall a night more than 50 years ago at the Polo Grounds in New York when you stepped into the ring with one of the greatest fighters of our time, the Cuban, Kid Chocolate. He was unbeaten up until then, and then against you, who were the Whitechapel Windmill. That was your designation. And you always came forward arms flailing. I don't think you took a backward step during that fight. And you surprised the audience, the Polo Grounds, and New York, and the world by winning against the unbeatable Kid Chocolate. And it was only through your determination and inner power that you managed to do that. I salute you still.
Thank you, John Huston. Now, that victory over Kid Chocolate made you the talk of America, Jack, and you were cock-a-hoop.
I am, after winning my fight with Kid Chocolate, it is needless for me to say how overjoyed I am for beating such a cagey boxer as Chocolate. My greatest ambition is now to bring to England the lightweight championship of the world. And however, I want to thank the American public for the way they have treated me here in this country. Now I will introduce to you my manager, Frankie Jacobs, and my two trainers, Whitey Bimstein and Ray Arcel. Not forgetting my closest associates, I thank you.
Well, after your second triumph against Kid Chocolate, you made your first challenge for a British championship here at the Albert Hall on October the 29th, 1934, defeating another great boxing idol from the East End, Harry Misler. And we have traced 5 more of your old opponents, all former British title contenders, Harry Davis, Jack Lewis, and George Odwell. British welterweight champion 1935, Pat Butler. And your 3 times opponent in 1925, former British feather and lightweight champion from Sheffield, 81 years of age, Johnny Cuthbert. Johnny.
You lovely boy.
Yes. Lovely. There you're over the ringside. Stephanie, you now spend your life as a respected artist between your studios in Soho in the south of France. Now, when you were growing up in London, did you realize that your dad was world famous for being a master of the noble arts?
No, I think whoever your father is, you always think of him as your father. And actually, Jack was very gentle and loving. And actually, I think I'm glad that he retired before I could see his fights. Except for now, I wish there was more footage of his early fights, because I'm a great boxing fan. And all the time people come up to me and say, "My God, was Kid Berg really your father?" It makes me very proud.
Now, at the close of your boxing career, Jack, you went into films as a stuntman, and the horse riding hobby that you'd taken up in America helped you to get work. Now, one of your earliest appearances was in the famous charge scene at the Battle of Agincourt in the award-winning 1944 film Henry V. And there's somebody who remembers how that charge nearly started without you.
God, were you really taken for a ride that day, me old mate?
God. Ex-professional heavyweight, now a respected stunt artist, that great Cockney character from the Elephant and Castle, Notcher Powell. What about Jack being taken for a ride? Tell us about that.
Well, very quickly. We've been rounding up about 300 horses for weeks, and some of these horses had never had oats in their life. We all turned up, the stunt guys, and the first assistant said, "The horses are all over there, chaps. Just go and select your mount, and that horse will be yours for the remainder of the film." Jack's always had the best, Flash Kid. Straight over the horse he went. They got this horse. It was 17 and a half high. Honestly. Even I had trouble in putting the bridle on. So the orders was that Larry, that was Sir Lawrence Olivier, would be out front. And when he raised his sword up on high, we would go forward at the walk. Once at the trot, twice at the canter. And when he went like that, we went hell for leather. He went past me like dancing bravely out the 12. And about 2 hours later, when we were sitting down playing poker, Jack rode up and he said, "Deal me and I've had a ride." That was it. Lovely.
Thank you, Thank you.
Well, despite that, or because of that, you had a long career in films, Jack, but as a boxer, you'll always hold a place in the Hall of Fame. Now, you're so proud of your NBA World Championship belt that you keep it in a bank vault, except for very special occasions. And just last September, 56 years on, another gutsy British fighter went into the enemy camp in search of such a belt. And when he ended the unbeaten run of the great Don Curry to create one of the great boxing upsets of all time, he threw himself across the ring in a frenzy of delight. Yes, of course, proudly wearing his WBA belt, undisputed world welterweight champion, Lloyd Hannigan. Jack, we had a lot of trouble about that belt of yours, but as you know, thanks to you, it's not in the vault tonight, and you're always worried about it, but it's in the safest possible hands. Your belt is in the hands of Britain's heavyweight hero, Frank Bruno. Lloyd, let me ask you, what does Jack Kid Berg mean to you?
Well, it means a lot, you know, because when you're a young kid, you look up to people like Jack Kid Berg, and you consider it a great honour to pay my respect to him tonight.
Well said. And Frank, I bet you could grow attached to that belt, eh?
It's a beautiful belt, Eamonn. You know, every youngster, every boxer dreamed of having a belt like this. I hope to have a belt like this one day. But it's Jack's belt, and it's beautiful.
One day you will.
Cheers, Jack. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank Bruno and Lloyd Hannigan. Jack, as we come to the final round, I want to take you back again to New York, from where someone would like a word with you. The man who trained you for that great Kid Chocolate victory 54 years ago. Among 20 other fighters, he has helped to steer to world titles. Our ringmasters like Barney Ross, Cesar Charles, James J. Braddock, and modern greats Roberto Duran and Larry Holmes. Keep looking at that screen, Jack. He's still passing on his great knowledge, even at the age of 87. From New York, Ray Arcel.
Hello, Jackie. How are you? Congratulations. What a wonderful honor this is. And long overdue. We had some hair-raising experiences, Jackie. Remember that incident at the Harding Hotel when we just had come back from the gymnasium after a hard workout and we were relaxing, and two gunmen rushed into our room with drawn pistols and were going to kill us both because they learned that you were flirting with Lex Diamond's girlfriend. You know, Lex Diamond was one of the most notorious gunmen of the Prohibition era. It took an awful long time of coaxing and pleading before we straightened this thing out. And we checked out of that hotel in a hurry. Thank heavens we are both here to recall the story. That was not part of our training schedule. I've trained many world's champions, and you were one of my very best. I always admired you as a boxer. I salute you as my friend. Cheerio. God bless.
He was in New York 3 days ago, Jack, when he paid that tribute, but tonight he's in London for you. From New York City, 87 years young.
Oh, I love you. I love you. Oh, I love you. I love you.
Jack Kid Berg, a champion for all seasons. This is your life.